Welcome to another episode of Coaching Football with Brian Klee.
Thanks for checking out episode 18, Outside Linebacker Fundamentals and Drills within a 3-4 defensive scheme. Quick thank you also to all the players I've coached over the past 18 years, and especially the past 7 years here at Coloma. 6 of those years thanks to Coach Stevens and being the defensive coordinator. We transitioned to being a 3-4 defense 4 years ago, and we've definitely improved our competitiveness and ability to play defense some. Obviously got room to improve still, and got some stuff to look at in the off season coming up here, but been more effective with it, and it's largely due to our outside linebacker play. Quick thank you also to the assistant coaches, Coach Reb, Coach Smith, Coach Chris and Barry a few years ago, and especially Coach Mead, who has taken on the role of not only being our JV offensive coordinator, JV head coach, but he's also coached the outside linebacker group quite a bit over the past few years, and exclusively did that on defense during Indy time this year, and I think that group's improved some. Thanks tremendously to him. I've improved as a coach thanks to him quite a bit too. And just to be upfront with you, our outside linebackers, we ask them to do a lot. They'll go from, they got to be able to play on tight ends. That's the number one reason we're in a 3-4 scheme, is we want 2 outside linebackers playing 9 techniques, maybe 6 techniques on tight ends, be physical, setting the edge, being able to play both a stretch scheme of some sort, a sweep, or a power counter gap scheme where they're ready to come down inside and spill things. And then we ask them to go out and be apex, play as an overhang, play pass coverage, and then we still ask them to rush the passer. They got to be very athletic, in my opinion, and have a sufficient amount of football IQ, and that's something that you need to consider anytime you've got personnel. And what you ask them to do is number one, can they physically do it, and number two, do they have the at least the football IQ to be able to go do that. And like I said, thanks to the guys that I've been able to coach, especially the past 4 years here, been really blessed to have some really outstanding athletic football players with high football IQs that have been able to match the task. So let's take a look at how we coach them, how we drill them, and how they've been successful on the football field.
Our defensive philosophy begins with the idea that we need a force defender that sets the edge. That's often the job of our outside linebackers, depending on the coverage. Sometimes it's a defensive back, a cornerback in a cover 2, or a safety sky and down against a 2-back set, which then affects how our outside linebacker has to play within our 3-4 scheme. Every sound defensive scheme has inside defenders filling gaps, an LE player filling in between that force defender and those inside gap fillers, and a backside cutback or counter player. All defenders must have simple and sound keys and reads in order to attack blockers and pursue the ball carrier. In general, we prefer to spill the ball and kill it on the perimeter because it allows for consistent run fits, so we play fast, pursue downhill, and get all defenders pursuing to make the tackle. There's our drill list of fundamentals and what we ask our outside linebackers to do. And as I mentioned in the introduction, it's really quite a bit. And some things to take into consideration: if your outside linebacker is a little better in coverage, typically you play him at what we call the stud position to the field. If they're a little better pass rusher, they play him to the boundary at what we call the Bob linebacker, and make sure you adjust to their strengths within what you do. And by no means is this the only way to play outside linebackers. It's just how we do it to fit within our 3-4 scheme. The fundamentals that we're focused on: number one, we have to have correct alignment and stance to execute the assignment, to aggressively control the edge and perimeter on every play. We need to be able to leverage the blocker or the receiver based on that assignment every single play, whether we're a 9 technique on a tight end, we're a 6 technique on a ghost tight end outside of offensive tackle. We line up as outside shade as a 5 technique and are probably pass rushing against a defensive end, or if we're overhang off a tight end or apex in an offensive tackle, number 2 receiver, or number 2 and number 3 receiver. In general, we're keying through the end man on the line of scrimmage to the near back. The exception would be a 3-by-1, 3 detached receivers. We're going to key the number 3 receiver for our primary read. And like I said, we're reading the movement of that end man on the line. The screws of his helmet it's either going inside, some sort of down block, or pull away. It's coming outside at us, a reach block, maybe a base block, or it's going backwards, which is a pass block, and we need to react accordingly to make sure we control the edge and have great perimeter play. Our alignments real quick, so we're all kind of on the same page language-wise. 9 technique, base way, we're teaching it in camp preseason. We're saying put that inside foot split in the crotch of that tight end. By game plan or down and distance, we'll tell our guys, hey, you can widen and put your inside foot on the tight end's outside foot. A 6 technique is on a ghost tight end. It would be head up if we did get a tight end. We don't use that quite as often against a tight end lately. And that's typically what we're doing if we're in a pass rush situation on the weak side of the formation. We'll also obviously apex against 2x2 when we're to the passing strength. We'll split that offensive tackle and that number 2 receiver, or we'll play about 5x5 as an overhang if in certain fronts, certain calls. And then obviously against 3 detached receivers, we're going to apex the number 2 and the number 3 receiver there. And again, down and distance is going to determine who those receivers are going to determine maybe we widen some to 2, maybe we tighten some to 3. Our stance, we want a shoulder width base with a heel to toe stagger. Currently, my outside linebacker coach, who I mentioned in the introduction, Kurt Mead, he, after going to a clinic this past season, he said, hey, let's put our inside foot forward, our outside foot back. That's going to allow our outside linebackers to keep better outside leverage, which is their number 1 responsibility. I trust him completely, so I said, sure, that's how we did it this past year. Previously, we had been outside foot forward and inside foot back, mainly because that matched what we did with the defensive line. If we have a guy that we want to be able to maybe move around in some pass rush situations, move him down to a defensive end. And there's our inside foot forward, outside foot back, 6 technique by Robbie. There's our inside foot up, our outside foot back, 9 technique by Jacoby on the tight end. There's Jermaine, 9 technique, and now he's the opposite. This is how we used to do it. I don't know if there's a complete right or wrong. It's what your outside linebacker coach truly believes in. But he's got his inside foot back, his outside foot up. And then there's Zach against the tight end. Also has the 9 technique. He's got his inside foot split in the crotch of that tight end and his outside foot up. The first skill that outside linebackers got to become good at for us is their step and strike against a tight end. That's critical when you're in a 3-4 scheme. They got to be able to come up and play tight ends, I think, regardless, unless you absolutely don't see tight ends on your schedule. It starts with a great stance, which we talked about already. Have our feet correct, have base power angles in our ankles and knees, those Z's in the knees and ankles. Our first step is going to be forward with whatever foot is back, and then we're going to begin to throw the strike. The second step, also forward with the opposite foot. We're going to deliver the strike, aiming for the bottom of the press plate. We should be able to read and react to the block by about the 4th step. So some clips of that. Here we go. We're just stepping through. Each time we clap, Brendan takes a step. He's got his hands inside. He's going to rip at about the 4th or 5th step. Here's Zach. Again, this is from 2 or 3 years ago. Dip and rip after that 4th or 5th step. The kid in orange on the left, Jackson. Here you go, 4th step. Rip. Kid on the right is Nathan. There we go, we're speeding it up some now. Now we're almost full speed. Zach's a little unsure of himself, but he picks up the pace at the end there. Does a great job ripping off. It's delivering that strike, resetting the line of scrimmage. Here's Brendan, pretty good one. Emphasizes the rip. After that, our run block destruct is very similar to what we teach our defensive linemen. After that great step and strike, the block it has to be destroyed. The primary way we do that is what we call a steer rip. The defender should finish the strike while pushing upward with his outside hand, pulling down with his inside hand on the jersey, on the breastplate, continuing to step and rip with that hand, which you saw at the end of that previous drill. The other thing that will work some is a push-pull punch. We're going to push the defender back, get him going backwards. We're just continuing that step and strike that we just got done watching. And then we're going to pull him back towards us with both hands and quickly pull that defender down into the inside or wherever we're trying to escape or throw. Here comes a good step and strike by Jermaine at outside linebacker against the tight end. Knocks the tight end back, able to see that the ball's committed inside, falls off the block, and makes the tackle. End zone shot of the same thing. He's probably a little bit worried about flipping for the strength. Maybe a little wider than what I want him in this game. This is week 2, and he has a false step there, but he's delivering the step and strike. He's got his hands on the tight end. He's feeling the tight end, but he's keying that near back. Sees the ball faking up inside and makes the stop. Here we got Zach at the bottom of the screen. 9 technique. Completely reroutes to the tight end. Steps and strikes him down inside, flattens about, keeps our inside linebacker clean, puts him in his position to spill the ball, and we get a bunch of yellow hats tackling out on the perimeter. Just completely disrupts the I think it was straight up ISO. I don't think it was a kick out scheme per se. Just completely ends up messing it up. Bottom of the screen here, 9 technique again. He is winning against that tight end. Counter comes at him, and it's a mess. There's the guard and the tackle. And the ball has no place to go. Backside, Jermaine runs it down. Just stepping off that down block, ignoring the fake. Pretty good play by both outside linebackers there. And like I mentioned in the intro here, these are our better athletes on our team. Pretty good by Jackson. Maybe doesn't get the knockback that we want, but keeps himself alive. Keeps outside leverage as a 9 technique on that tight end. Closes the C gap pretty much with the tight end's body and the fact that our inside linebackers are starting to fill. And essentially spills it to himself. Does a good job holding on to the running back. The next skill that we got to teach our outside linebackers is recognize the block in front of them. Am I getting a reach block out of the tight end? I need to stretch that to the sideline as far as possible while trying to knock that tight end back. Is my tight end releasing inside? Is he blocking down? I need to squeeze. And for the most part, we have chosen to spill when we get that tight end. That's something I'm considering changing going forward. Don't know for sure what I'm going to do yet. And then lastly, hip pocket a polar. That tight end turns away from us. We want to get in his hip pocket because he's probably taking us to the ball. So reach, stretch, and this is exactly what we teach our defensive line. If you haven't checked out that presentation, I've got a link to it in the description down below. When we get a reach block, we want to stretch and play reach the reacher, which is something if our guys play offensive line or tight end for us, they understand. And just as that defender steps outside, I want to stretch the blocker outside. I'm going to be ready to run, keeping leverage on that outside half of the blocker, and I'm trying to get my hips completely into the outside gap. Once both hips are outside and shoulders are perpendicular, steer and control the blocker, working upfield, destroy the block completely with a rip or punch, and pursue or tackle the ball carrier. If my hips get past even of the blocker, I'm ripping and leaving. Here we go. Even though this is a sack, it's 9 technique against. He's stepping down, striking that tight end. Feels like that's a reach block by the tight end because the tight end doesn't get a clean release on the pass here. Works to the outside, able to contain the quarterback and make a heck of a play for us. Right there, he loses leverage for a second, but he feels that outside pressure, gets back outside, gets off the block, makes a nice play. We got Nathan as a 9 technique on the tight end there. Going to get sweep at him. Motion by the wing. He's reset the line of scrimmage. He's spilled the ball off the wings block. That's our DB trigger. DB whiffs. And Nathan gets off the block, and we make a tackle for a 0-yard gain. It's kind of a generous spot. There's probably about 2 yards on that. And here, bottom of the screen, a sweep. Resetting the line of scrimmage. We're playing about 1 yard on the other side. Our hips are completely outside of the tight end. We fall off, and we're getting run over by the running back. but it's a 0-yard gain. Heck of a play by an outside linebacker. Get my hips all the way outside. That's the key part. A lot of guys, they think they're free of the block, but they haven't cleared their hips yet. And we got reach block coming against Timmy here. Timmy's nice and wide, sets the edge, leaves our run through. You'll see it really, really good on the end zone view. Now he's quite wide, and they beat us on sweep a couple times. We tried playing the 6 technique a little bit because they also ran some power, and we needed to defend against that zone. So he widened. Sweep was the play that was beating us at the time, and now we got both inside linebackers clean. Pretty big alley, but we got 2 of those guys plus the safety's able to pull this trigger. We're in really good shape. Here we go, bottom of the screen, 9 technique, beats the tight end, beats the halfback leading, the fullback, whatever you want to call the lead back there, forces a cutback. If our defensive lineman comes a little flatter, puts his ear hole across the front of that back here, we got a tackle for a 1-yard loss. Unfortunately, he hits a little bit of a cutback, really good back, makes a 5-yard gain there. And the key thing, if I'm physical with that tight end, I'm going to give that safety a pretty clean read that I can come downhill and support in the running game. Next thing our outside linebackers get coached up to do, and probably the harder one in my opinion, is if they get a block down, they want to squeeze it. I think regardless of whether you're a spill team or if you want to be a hard joint, a force team out of that outside linebacker, a box type defense all the time, you got to squeeze that down block and take away the running alley inside. We're going to step down, and as of right now, we try to trap the trapper with those outside linebackers. We've changed that up here and there in a couple games just because like your safety's got to make plays on the perimeter if you're doing that all the time, and our safeties maybe didn't make tackles as consistently as we needed them to this year. So we adjusted that some, and that's something I'm considering about changing. But we want them to spill when that offensive player goes inside. The defender's going to step down and squeeze that block further inside, flatten it. You've seen some already on some of the clips. We want to fit the outside half to block it tightly. Ideally, clinic talk here, our hands going to be waist high, or inside hands on the belly button, outside hands on the top of the hip. Once the shoulders are turned perpendicular, continue flat off the block and hunt for the inside trap, a kick out, maybe the ball. And I guess the one thing that maybe you want to change, maybe we want to change, we don't want to turn those shoulders perpendicular necessarily. We want to keep our shoulders parallel to the line of scrimmage as opposed to turning them perpendicular, so we can dent it a little bit more. I guess that dent technique that a lot of coaches talk about. And then we're going to destroy that inside threat by ripping the outside shoulder across the inside half and run the circle tight to pursue outside. And we've had success with this, but it requires great play by your perimeter defenders. Bottom of the screen here. Now this is a called stunt where he's going inside he's aiming for the tackle. And this is one of my favorite plays. I've seen it before. If you watch some videos on here, it's just complete mess. Watch it one more time because it's just good stuff. Inside, goes the halfback, knocks the guard back. There's a fake going on. The fake wants nothing to do with this, and that quarterback all but takes a knee, and I don't blame him. We got a lot of yellow jerseys to ball on that play. Started with a great spill by our outside linebacker. Now this is off a read. Tight end blocks down. Outside linebacker fits the hip. Is inside the halfback. Ball goes to the perimeter. And is a little soft on the edge, but we get our inside linebacker through clean because we flatten things out so much. We keep our 5 technique here, does a decent job too, holding up the point of attack. Inside linebacker, you see scraping, tight to that wall. Outside linebackers trying to run the hoop, get back in pursuit, and we tackle the ball for a 2-yard gain. Bottom of the screen here, this might be how I want all our guys to be doing it in the future. A little bit more of a dent technique. We're spilling the ball with his body. Our inside linebacker hit a run through here. Outside linebacker falls off, makes the play. Again, this might be the textbook way of really trying to have your outside linebackers play if you're playing them in a man technique. And last one, coming off a trap here. End zone shot will give you a pretty good one. Not a great step and strike. Squeezes down. He's inside the kick out. and trap skills to him. He's in position to make the tackle. Helps out our forward technique. Does a nice job running the hoop and getting in on the tackle with him. And counter to the top of the screen. Spill by 9 technique. Actually knocks the ball out here. End zone shot's really good. He's stepping down with that tight end. Inside, the guard's kick out. Guard completely misses him. And he's in position to make the tackle all by himself. Knocks the ball out. Almost get a big turnover. And just because we're doing this to stop inside plays like power and trap doesn't mean it's not effective against something like keep. Here, top of the screen, we got Tate coming down. He's inside the kick out by number 8, the halfback there. He, I think, sees and knows that the quarterback's pulled the ball and is running the key play, holds on and lets his teammates run to a big third down stop. Next skill set is hit pocketing a puller. We get a counter GE scheme out of the full house T teams that we see. If that target, our tight end, turns his back from us, we want to hit pocket that puller because in our experience, where that tight end goes, that's where the ball's going. We're going to strike and hit the back or the hip as that blocker pulls away. So we're going to continue to follow him inside, trying to keep hands on the hip pocket of that puller, confirm that initial read of pull away by visually keying the path of the near back or the deep back who's also going away, spill any kick-out blocks that come at us that are trying to pick us off and ignore any fakes, cross the midline, pursue the ball carrier while following the path of that puller. End zone shot here would be really, really good. I'll give you the wide view one more time. It got started a little early. He that's Jermaine there. Heck of a play. Had his hands on the tight end's back. Chases play down from behind. You see the whole play here. Just incredible. And that's he's the only one who's made the play from behind before. So is he special? Absolutely. He's one of the better ball players we've had. But he's trusting his key. He's not falling for that fake coming at him. Here he comes again. Opening play of the game. So he's been coached up all week long. That tight end pulls away, try to hit pocket. Excited, ignores the ball fake right beside him. You know, and if that fake goes outside, well, we got a corner completely unblocked if that tight end goes away like that. And runs it down from behind. I don't think we got the end zone shot of that, so I'll let that play one more time there. There you go. Strike. Searches goes away. I go away. Chase the back down. Great opening play. Other thing our outside linebacker needs to do against the 9 technique is largely contain the quarterback is what we're going to ask. I thought I had film of it. I think it's just something that's happened in practice. In general, if we're in the 9 technique, we're not going to ask that guy to have a pass coverage responsibility. We have in the past on something like an outside release and then a back releasing on an arrow to the flats. Sometimes our outside backers pick that up, and it's mainly because they think that tight end is reach blocking. And something that I'll talk more about in the presentation here coming up. If we got a cannon called, we're gonna spill what's inside off of a down block by the tight end. If we got a dog called, we're gonna hit that with our inside shoulder, keep our outside shoulder free, and make sure we contain. In the past, we just told guys, hey, 3rd and long, let's have outside contain. 1st down and 10, we want to be inside, and we're going to spill it. Here we go. We're worried about a run right now, 3rd and 9. They're a running team. They don't throw the ball a ton. So he steps down, gets logged temporarily by the guard, but runs the circle, starts to pursue, has some help from his teammates, and forces the ball to get thrown. So not the end of the world that he took the inside, because we do have our inside linebacker scraping late. Ideally, I think I want the corner to be sinking off and force that quarterback to run a little bit more. But the outside linebacker's done his job. Here, I think we get a little bit more of a contained type rush where we're on a stunt inside the tight end. That's called. But we hit the tackle. After that, we treat it like a reach block. We surf to the outside, and we're in position to potentially contain the quarterback. pretty good job of keeping the edge and playing the quarterback, potentially keeping it. Next skill that becomes really critical if you play a lot of man-to-man and you're bringing a 5-man or 6-man pass rush is the concept of Blitz Appeal. That's the assignment of a 6 technique or potentially a 9 technique when defending, again, largely a 1-back team or a 2-back team if they like to swing those running backs out and you're bringing five guys or more. If that back blocks or runs play action away, you continue your blitz, you're aiming at the deep shoulder of the quarterback, just like a defensive end would. If that back swings or runs an aerial, you're going to peel immediately with the back gaining width and a little bit of depth, and you're matching him man-to-man with outside leverage. And this assignment is automatic when we have a dog call. So, as I was talking about, if we get a swing right away, we're going to stop our pass rush. We're going to peel with that. And ultimately, our inside linebacker, we're probably in some sort of 5-man pressure here. And if this inside linebacker happens to be the free inside linebacker, he would have the quarterback. If the quarterback would scramble at this point, if we ever got some sort of arrow route out of that back, I'll show this on an upcoming slide, that inside linebacker is going to take him with inside leverage and vertical. The outside linebacker is going to have outside leverage and feed him to that inside linebacker. If we get play action away from us, we're going to continue our pass rush. And like I said, we're aiming for the deep shoulder of the quarterbacks. That way we force him to step up in the pocket, stay in the pocket, not beat us to the edge. And if we get a block, we want to have contain on that block. Cannon and dog, this is something that we used at times this past year to make sure we really clear up the responsibility of the outside linebacker and the inside linebacker. Cannon's kind of the base way. If I had my druthers and our inside linebackers were really good at pursuing and had great speed, and we felt like they could match up against all the running backs that we see and be able to run sideline to sideline, that's the way I want to play it, where the outside linebacker is going to read that offensive tackle and fit inside whatever the running threat is and spill any blocks, while the inside linebacker is going to fit the outside running threat. This would be not a blitz peel situation. It also lets your outside linebacker stay in a pass rush potentially. And as I briefly mentioned, calling that cannon, in theory, it's going to force an offense to run sideways, allowing the defense to maximize rate pursuit and speed by inside linebackers. The other call that we'd have is a dog, which is now the outside linebacker is going to fit the outside running threat. He's going to force any blocks, while the inside linebacker fits the inside running threat. The outside linebacker is not really keying the end man on the line of scrimmage. Once we make that dog call, he's keying the near back potentially, or whatever comes at him first as the outside running threat. Calling that dog is going to set an edge and limit the speed of an offense, allowing the defense to maximize physical and downhill inside linebacker fits. So first clip here, Blitz Appeal, top of the screen. My favorite play of Tate here. He gets the swing, gets a little bit of a reach block out of that offensive tackle, and just nice big hit against our rival. Exciting play. Here he is again. Both outside linebackers. We're calling the blitz peel. I've really only got to be conscious of it when the back's to my side in a gun set. Potentially a back kind of leaking out on play action and maybe a screen. The other outside linebacker needs to be aware of it. But we're back steps up to block. We're both going to stay in our pass rush. We get hit on the quarterback early on in the game. Try and send a message that he's going to be under pressure. While this is as much defending against a reach block out of a halfback, right now, since we're slanting the front to the left, Jackson here, he is responsible for that running back because he's the third receiver in, and we're sending the inside linebacker. So he's worried about that running back going out on a route. Because of that, he defeats the crack block, doesn't even notice it, and he keeps outside leverage on the sweep here, forces it back, and lets our guys pursue it. Real good play by him. So he's a 6 technique. That's what he is. Does a great job. because we send the linebacker on his side. He knows he's responsible for that near back. Does a great job of matching what he thinks is a swing route initially, and puts himself in great position to help tackle the sweep and force back to pursuit. Another one by him. Now he's got the swing of the running back. Running back continues vertical or man-to-man. He can't assume he's got any safety help because that's that third receiver. And he does get safety help late, but he almost makes the pick all by himself. Does a great job of staying in coverage. I think you get a pretty good shot here on the end zone of him being in position. And he's low and inside, so if that ball's thrown a little deeper, that's the corner actually. That helps him out a little bit late. Next up is our 6 technique playing against offensive tackle. If he gets some sort of reach block out of that offensive tackle, his job is to play that, hopefully with better leverage than what he would as a 9 technique on a tight end and stretch it to the sideline and set the edge. That cannon dog call comes into play, and that's going to determine if he's fitting the inside threat or the outside run threat. Maybe you got something like shovel coming at him. If we got a cannon called, he's going to fit the running back coming across because he's the inside threat, while the inside linebacker is going to scrape to the quarterback, the outside threat. If we got a dog called, he's going to ignore the offensive tackles down blocking. He's fitting the outside threat, be the quarterback here in shovel, and the inside linebacker is going to fit inside. And first, some examples of stretching. Here we go, offensive tackles kicking out. I want to stretch it, set the edge, force the cutback. 3 technique pursues from inside. Outside linebacker is able to help him make the play. 3 technique is to make the play because we forced it back to him. Here we go. We got, I believe, speed option coming to the top of the screen. Stretching that offensive tackle's block. Speed option stretched all the way across the field at this point. The quarterback doesn't really have a pitch angle. And it buys our safety area inside linebacker time to come over, rally, help make the play. Sky, our safety's over here. Probably not a route. Our safety probably ignores that a little faster than he should, but the pace of the play, it's speed option all the way there. And bottom of the screen, or we got a reach block, fight it to the outside, force the cutback, let the 4 technique inside of you. I believe 3 technique make the play. Actually, adjust it to looks like a 4 technique. And the shovel that I was talking about, we happen to have a dog called here. So outside linebacker gets the quarterback right at him. He's containing the quarterback. It's the quarterback nice and hard. Quarterback's down. Inside linebacker fits inside. Ball's out. Unfortunately, it's a forward pass on shovel, so it's not a fumble. It's just a incompletion. End zone shot of the same play. And schematically, we'll usually mix this up with pinching, our 4 techniques to get to a tight front off movement. Did another slide about another presentation about that to close those B gaps so that inside linebacker's clean and straight. If we get power read, and we got that cannon dog called, I think both clips here, you're going to get a cannon type look. Power read to the top, outside linebacker steps down, and now here's the issue with it. If you're in man coverage like we are, your inside linebacker has to be able to have the wheels to match that running back. So that's where calling that cannon might not be your thing. You got to have great team speed, and especially at inside linebacker when you're doing this to be successful with it. And I'd say our inside linebacker is just a step or 2 slow to be able to really make that stop. It's a corner coming off a crack replay situation. Bottom of the screen, we got a cannon called, so the outside linebacker's taken by game plan. He was going to take the inside threat, the quarterback. On most situations, steps down, kind of slow plays it for a second, and makes a tackle for no gain. Nice play by Jacoby there. End zone shot of the same thing. And again, like I said, we're mixing this up usually with our 4 or 5 techniques pinching. Near the end of the game, we actually played them in base techniques there. Ends up stretching that edge. Cannon dog against something like zone. That's the way we're going to fit it up. If we get some sort of lead block, a quarterback power or something, that's how we're going to fit it up right there. So first clip it's kind of ends up being a running back, kind of a lead zone type thing. They're bringing motion that sniffer across, and they're going to bring them right back. Outside linebacker is demonstrating what we want in a cannon situation. He wants to play inside and spill blockers. You see our inside linebacker scraping over the top. Real good job of turning the circle at outside linebacker by Jackson, and spills the ball, and we get a bunch of white jerseys making the tackle for a big stop. This would be an example of a dog by Tate on the bottom of the screen here. He gets the kickout block. He's forcing it back. Now, if our inside linebacker was on his horse instead of 2-yard gain, maybe we're stopping this for a 0-yard gain. And again, I think that cannon dog situation is the case of your personnel. What can your outside linebackers do? Can you only do one? What can your inside linebackers do? What's your overall team speed? Speed option. I think we're going to have both of these are going to be examples of a cannon coming up. Motion them across, so we got speed option to the top of the screen. And we're hitting the quarterback. Kind of a risky pitch there, tackling it for a 1-yard gain. That's one of the other advantages of having your outside linebacker take the inside threat. If it's speed option like that, the quarterback's getting hit. He wants to pitch it earlier and earlier. He's kind of risky with his pitch in that situation. Here we go. Our freshman, DJ. He's on a cannon. Make sure the quarterback gets a pitch. And great scrape by Dylan, an inside linebacker. Be nice if he held on and make the tackle there. But we get a pretty good fit. Yeah, we get a good end zone shot here. So cannon takes away the inside threat. Scrape matches the outside threat. If we get our pad level down a little bit, we may be tackling that for a 2-yard loss instead of 0-yard gain. Okay, next skill set for the outside linebacker is playing as an overhang or apex. Our alignment's going to be 5x4 off the end man on the line of scrimmage. Anytime our linebacker is in coverage, and our coverage call is to be a match. The side with more detached receivers is where we're going to end up playing our coverage. Typically, the other outside linebacker is going to be bringing edge pressure on the other side in somehow, shape, or form. If we call our stud 32 front, the stud is automatically to the field, and he's going to be playing as the overhang or apex. We will widen that apex if the split of the number 2 is wider than about 10 yards. Or if we get 3 detached receivers, we can widen that further by game plan or situation. And we're going to key through the end man on the line to the near back for our coverage responsibility. And we really want to make sure we make our read and we know before we go as an outside linebacker. Couple reads that they're going to get that we practice against. If we get some sort of a reach stretch scheme, we always want to force that, keep our outside shoulder free, make sure we knock it back to pursuit. If we get the ball spilled to us, it's still the same thing. I want to keep my outside shoulder free. I want to come up and tackle with my inside shoulder. If the end man on the line ends up down blocking and we get the ball spilled out to us. The other thing that will happen is we're on the backside of the play. If our offensive lineman that we're keying, our end man on the line, is kicking out, base blocking, our 5 technique in most cases, we'd have 4 technique, either slanting out or a 5 technique. When we got outside linebacker apex here, if he's getting kicked out, we want to shuffle fold and be able to insert inside of that, making sure we keep our shoulders square the entire time during that shuffle. And if we get that offensive tackle releasing down inside in our 5 technique, hip pocketing and bending down the line, we're going to shuffle up to the line of scrimmage, and we've got to confirm that quarterback gave the ball. Just watch an NFL game today with Andy Dalton and the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, the bottom line, they didn't have a guy checking quarterback. Giants ended up winning the game, but that's kind of basic defense. First one, we got run 2. We got Brennan here, keying the offensive tackle. Offensive tackle blocks down on our 3 technique there. Brendan's going to fit inside, ready to play the quarterback. The quarterback is getting hit, so he throws the ball out. And then the DBs make the play out on the perimeter. Great team play here on inside veer. Again, there's the down block trigger. Fit the quarterback, next threat, get the ball out. And DBs make a heck of a play on the perimeter. Here we are, both outside linebackers in this spot. We got Robbie on the top, Zach on the bottom. Watch Zach first. He's shuffle pursuit. Tackle's releasing down. He's going to end up eating up space. I'd like his shoulders maybe to stay square a little longer, but he knows where the ball's going, makes a nice hit from behind. And watch the top of the screen real quick. Robbie there. I don't think he needs to take that hop back. I mean, his offensive tackle's going upfield. He could pull his trigger a little harder, and he's going to let himself get cracked because that's going to let the safety pull his trigger. That's what we're teaching as far as that goes. But he knows the ball's being run. Ball gets spilled out. He keeps outside leverage. Hits with his inside shoulder. Could have lower pad level for sure. But nice play by both outside linebackers. You get both the run away linebacker coming, shuffling on the screen here. And you get the run to linebacker. And really, we kind of got beat up inside there if you watch that part of the play. Here's a really old tape from about 5 years ago, I think now. Christian, they should have handed the ball off here. We are not closing down enough. The quarterback pulls it. Could have stepped down inside, and I mean, this ends up being film that helped us teach our linebackers coming up in next year's, future years. Hey, this is how we want you to play it. I don't need to be stepping back, and he is. It's 3rd and 25. It's 3rd and 25, so he's playing this right for the down and distance. Comes up, confirms it. But he's able to see that because he's keying the end man on the line of scrimmage. Otherwise, maybe he keeps dropping, gives a little bit more of a running lane for that quarterback. End zone shot at the same thing. We're a little extra wide. Again, it's 3rd and 26. We want to get a pass rush up front. Ball's gone away. Now his job's to reroute too, but he's getting a run read. Plus the quarterback's coming at him. Your outside linebacker, pull your trigger. Nice play by him. Last skill set for outside linebackers is matching patterns. We're cover 4 or match 2 high structure, and we need our linebackers to match the final 2-3-2 receivers. Your exact matches, that's going to base on your coverage. If you're cover 3 or 1 high team, it might look a little different than what we're doing here, but I think these are the basic routes that you got to have your linebacker group work against a 2x2 set. Something where you've got a seam by the number 2 receivers, and then either the 3 receivers pushing to the perimeter or he's staying vertical. So first, the solid lines there, our linebackers know they're playing 2-3-2. The outside linebacker is going to be responsible for the final 2 receiver, inside out, short to deep. The middle of the inside linebackers is going to be responsible for matching the final 3 again, inside out, short to deep. And our backside inside linebacker, because we're probably bringing the other outside linebacker off the edge, he's responsible for the final 2 to his side. Usually that's the boundary side a lot of times for the little linebacker, so the space he has to cover is not that great. And the situations here, we want to take our first step, read that end man on the line of scrimmage. If we get that pass read, we are dropping. We're trying to reroute a seam at about 8 yards or so. What's going to take us off that seam? The only thing that's taking us off that seam is a push by the number 3 receiver. We get that push. We want to have work to that about 8 to 10 yards of depth, and then we want to be able to come down with outside leverage on that arrow route and come down on the lane. If that's the route that the offense keeps throwing, that's a good day for us. Unless that running back's just really, really, really good, then maybe we got to do something a little bit different. If we don't get that push, we're staying on that seam. We're playing underneath and inside, trying to help that safety, who's also keying that number 2 receiver. And then the other thing is some variation of a cross. So right now, the outside linebacker has a seam. He's rerouting that at 8 to 10 yards. And this is where the linebackers got to be great at communicating things. They're yelling cross, cross, cross. I want to box out the sideline now and get my eyes to be able to drive down on that and completely wall that off. If you flip this around, what the will linebacker has, he has that immediate cross. Anytime he gets that immediate cross, cross are going, cross are coming is ultimately what we're talking about with those guys in these situations. And here's just a couple matches of ours against 2x2 type sets. There's my 2 receiver. He's low and flat, and it's a screen situation. Jermaine does a great job picking it off. Bottom line, that guy's he's not taking off vertical. I'm able to keep leverage on him. He's inside. Is it a true seam? No. But is that my pass responsibility if I'm apexed? Yeah. So the other thing that we work is we get a 2 out immediately, what we call an alert. I'm playing my 2-1-3 rules. I get my eyes to 1. One's running a slant. I want to sink underneath it, play underneath it, help that again that hash safety, help them out. And then I get a cross right away. Crosser going, crosser coming. Unless I get that push call from the inside linebacker, and I'm going to push out to 3 again. I want to get to depth of about 10 yards so that way I can see as much of the field as possible and be able to drive down after the ball's thrown. So I'm hanging around, being at least in the quarterback's vision if we get something like a post stop, a curl route somewhere around 10, 12, 15 yards. And then the inside linebacker would be matching whatever crosser or drag coming back if the offense chooses to do that. Some clips of it, top of the screen here. Now we call it a seam. If our outside linebacker can get hands on it, and it's 3rd and 10, down in distance. If I can get hands on number 2, that's a seam. Ball goes to 1 late. Brendan does a good job helping out there. End zone shot, why not? You got a blitz on with their inside linebacker. Push out late. Number 2 is not getting to the middle of the field. That's my job. We get empty here. Top of the screen's a little better than the bottom of the screen. We'll watch the top first. Tate here. Out of physical reroute, but he's on 2. Nothing broke off. I'm going to stay on 2. I'm matching 2 all the way. Bottom of the screen here. Zach calls alert. He could match that. Ideally, we do 1 or 2. He either matches that straight up, and we're going to get double on number 87 here, or we call alert, and we actually play it as an alert. If he continues to sink, he's underneath the slant. Safety's on top and on top of the slant and inside, and then our corner can alert here and make the play like it does anyways. So the outside linebacker, and it's a little frustrating because you see him point alert, but then he doesn't play it. That gives you an idea of what we're trying to get there. And then lastly, half field 3x1 matches. If we get all seams, again, I'm playing 2-1-3 rules as the outside linebacker. The A on the screen there, I'm rerouting 2, I'm getting hands on 2, but I'm looking at 1 stays vertical, I'm going to stay vertical and hang on number 2 here. If my 2 goes out and I can keep leverage on it, I'm going to keep leverage on it. And now it depends on the coverage a little bit. Is the corner going to be able to trigger? Do we have cloud called or something like that where we can still play our alert rules? Or do I got to man that all the way? And I want to be able to play top down. I want to play with depth and be able to drive on it late. Ultimately, if the ball gets thrown to the shortest route on the field and it gets completed over and over, it's not the end of the world. And then seam alert, again, it depends on how we have this corner playing. If the corner is able to alert this, I can hang on the seam all the way. If we're playing stress, I push out to the flats. I got that number 3, but I want to work through number 2 to really force him to make a decision and kind of funnel him to the corner who's playing a deep quarter here for us, maybe a deep third for some other teams. I want to funnel him to that guy with leverage as I work out to that number 3 receiver. Plus, that's going to put me in the window of the quarterback for a split second if I'm hanging there a little bit longer. And then if I get some sort of cross, that is what's going to take me. All right, I got 2-1-3 rules. My receiver ends up crossing. My rules, my eyes are going to go to number 3. Number 3's in the seam. I'm going to hang there with outside leverage until he starts to cross. And again, it depends on what you're doing with your safety or safeties, what your actual structure and coverage is and whatnot. But most likely I can drive kind of underneath of that. And it's really the job of my inside linebacker to hang on with the inside leverage while I got outside leverage. Top of the screen here, 2-1-3 rules. I'd like to work through the number 2 receiver here, but he's able to drive on 3 becoming the new number 2 and make the pick six. Great play by Jackson. Very exciting. Very exciting. Anytime you get a turnover, especially against your rival, see him come on the screen here late after he's already picked it. And again, I would like see it come open late here. I don't like where the old number 2 is becoming number 3. Really, that's the safety's job to keep inside leverage on this, but it didn't get helped. If we go back real quick, he should probably be a little further inside number 2, and he wants to work. Now, he screwed up number 2 stem as number 2 became the new 3, but I want to kind of force him to go over the top of me. But hey, he picked it off. You can't complain too much as a defensive coordinator when you're getting turnovers. Here's the main, bottom of the screen, going to get bubble. 2-1-3 rules. 2 comes at me. 3 is becoming the new 2, so I'm going to strike the old number 2, and I'm working to him. Working to the ball, stay alive, make a heck of a play. Good stuff there. End zone shot gives you great pursuit of the other guys. You know, even if Jermaine's not making this play, I like where our 4 technique, our inside linebacker, we're showing up on the edge. We got a shot of making a play as a team. Here we go. We got seams essentially to the top. Brendan's able to drive on it, make the tackle. And I think we're going to have seams by both 2 and 3 here. Top of the screen. We're able to call seam, and we are in a cloud. Our corner is able to jump this, but we are able to call seam because I'm able to drive on it as an outside backer. Lets our corner stay in deeper coverage, plus it's a down and distance, 3rd and 10. Our corner is going to carry things. We're in real good position to play the ball, even if it's thrown better, thrown a little bit more on target. And last clip, we got crossers. Now, we worked on this. This is our rival Waterville. We know that they run crossing routes on their 2 points. Our inside linebackers, they are trying really hard to get a reroute, so they ignore them. They don't play this right, but our outside linebackers, crosser going. You see Robbie right here, put his foot in the ground. Crosser going, crosser coming. Gets a big pop. Happens to catch the kid, probably on his funny bone. And on the other side, now I'd like more depth by him. But crosser going, crosser coming. Another reroute. We knock both crossers down. The one almost makes the darn catch at he becomes available to catch at the end. Number 3 there. He's playing at Northwood University Division II school. Brian Kieft, heck of a ball player. Number 5 is the other receiver. He almost comes open late. Last skill set for our outside linebackers is they got to be able to pass rush at spots. And this is probably what we neglect the most, mainly because we see a lot of run-heavy teams on our schedule. But the pass block destruct that we coach them, the number one is they're just going to do their steer rip. If we get more time to work with them, I'm going to teach them a flip clear rip where just like our defensive line, the defender, he's going to get upfield on the first step, flip his hips, take 2 hands, clear the elbows of the blocker, rip, flip the hips again, and run the circle, get to the quarterback. And then a rip chop is something that we use after we get the blocker to turn his shoulders. We're going to rip upward, chop back down, get the hands completely off of us. Best way to drill this, in my opinion, is pass rush gauntlet. Again, if you haven't seen the defensive line fundamentals video that I've done, check the description down below. You'll see more of it. And bottom line, like, this is probably something that I've neglected, making sure our outside linebackers do, because there's not a lot of pass rush technique out of Jermaine there coming off the edge. Nobody really blocks him. He knows he's going, and that's probably what we've counted on, but maybe a little too much with our outside linebackers. Bottom of the screen here, could be way more aggressive with the pass rush, but it clears the hips completely and chases the quarterback down from behind after we got some really great man coverage behind it. Here is DJ. This past year, made sure our outside linebackers worked it a little bit more. Could do better flipping his hips off the first blocker here, but he does an okay job ripping off the second one. And that leads to a sack. For real excited to have him around. Freshman. He's on the bottom of the screen here, going to be rushing. And he's going to come up with his first varsity sack. comes clean. Inside linebacker occupies the tackle and runs it down from behind. So again, one of those things where we probably neglect teaching those outside linebackers pass rush a little bit, and we're counting on the fact that they're either the scheme or their athleticism is going to put them in spots where, heck of a play, just chasing it down. You can't teach that part of it. Here's Jacoby. Jacoby's gotten really good at this. You get the swim move, a rip, and he's aiming for the back shoulder of the quarterback. He's on the top of the screen, far side of the screen here. See that quick rip? Comes clean. End zone shot. Hands on. Clear the hands. Come clean. And a big 33 stop. Big shift. Hands on. Come clean and just chase him down. Heck of a play by Jacoby. And I love last part of the film here. Watch number 5. He's a senior inside linebacker, running back. I love it when teammates get that excited on the sideline. So that's outside linebacker play for us.
As always, guys, if you have questions or comments, please leave them down below. I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Check me out and follow me on Twitter at Coach Klee. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you like what you see. And if you have anything that maybe requires a longer response, hit me up at coachbrienklee@gmail.com. Thanks as always for tuning in. See you again.